Welcome to Fast Keto. I'm your host, Ketogenic Girl. Did you know that your body can actually be either a sugar burner or a fat burner? On this podcast, we talk all about how to make your body a fat-burning, fat-fueled machine and engaging your full metabolic flexibility. I'm Vanessa Spina. I am a sport nutrition specialist, a biomedical science student at U of T, and I am the author of the best-selling cookbook Keto Essentials, available on Amazon, and creator of the Ketogenic Girl Challenge program. And I am obsessed with optimizing our health through all these different biohacks, ketogenesis, intermittent fasting, all of these amazing tools that center around making the body a fat-adapted, fat-fueled machine. With this in mind, I present interviews to you with biomedical scientists, physicians, and people from all around the world who have experienced remarkable results from following a low-carb or ketogenic diet and getting their body into ketogenesis. So I hope you guys enjoy these interviews with this goal in mind. Hello, all you ketogenic boys and girls out there. I welcome you back to Fast Keto for this episode, which is going to be a recap episode of some of the top takeaways that I had from spending a week with low carb and keto experts in health, in medicine, in all aspects of biohacking and leveling up your health. And I had such a fantastic week at the Low Carb Universe. I am going to share some of my top takeaways and highlights from the show. I tried to share as much as I could during the week, just sharing fun moments, different clips of some of the talks and things, but I'm going to do a full recap episode for all of you just to be able to share how amazing it was. And I had so many fantastic takeaways, so many things that are kind of lingering in my mind and that have been provoking other cool thoughts and insights, and I really want to share some of the top ones and recap all of that with you. So let's get on to it. I have been researching hemp oil and CBD oil, and I found this company called NED, which is super interesting. They do premium small batch products that are slow crafted to deliver superior quality while supporting independent farmers, communities, and the environment, which I know that you all are super supportive of as well. Our bodies need to get essential fatty acids, and hemp is one of the best sources that you can get these fatty acids from. They have a couple of really cool different collections. One of them is called the NED Natural Cycle Collection, which is to support humans who menstruate during their cycle. I've been testing out some of their products and I find them superior to others because they are non-GMO. They are gently extracted with slow extraction. They don't have any synthetic ingredients in them. And I really like the overall vibes that I get from this company. They really have great values. If you want to check out some of their products and support Fast Keto at the same time, you can get 15% off their products, which they're offering to listeners of Fast Keto with free shipping. If you go to helloned.com/fastketo, that's helloned.com/fastketo, and use the code FASTKETO and you will get 15% off your order. Try them out for yourself. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. I'm really enjoying supplementing my ketogenic lifestyle with their products, and I know that you guys will enjoy them too. All right, you guys, so this episode is going to be a full recap with all of my top takeaways, lessons, and insights that I had during the week at the Low Carb Universe. For any of you who don't know what this event is, it's an annual event that takes place here in Mallorca in Spain, on the island of Mallorca, and it's organized by the Low Carb Universe, whose founders are Hanna and Bitta, and they put this event together. The first one was in 2017, and it is just one of the most phenomenal events out there. They do such an incredible job with it, and it's just a week of doing all kinds of workshops, all kinds of presentations from medical doctors, from scientists, from professionals, from a lot of remarkable people who've experienced incredible results. I'm going to talk about some of those people who were there this week at the show. So it is just under a week long event, and every day we have different presenters in the morning. And then we usually do a lunch, everyone together with amazing food. It's all low carb. Everything is low carb, not a sweet potato or piece of French bread in sight. It is all just low carb food. So even if you wanted to, you wouldn't get triggered. And that makes a big difference, I think, for a lot of people who, want to attend this event. And, people are at different stages. Some people are really hardcore, like they've been doing this for a long time and it really comes easy to them. And then for other people, it's still the beginning and they need, emotional preparedness in order to be able to be in an environment where there's sort of an unlimited buffet of anything you can have. So this takes all of that out of it, and you just have all this incredible low carb food. That's all that's available, and you can't fail. Any plate that you put together or assemble within this beautiful dining area where we eat is going to be a low carb meal. It's just the way it's designed. So I think that's one of the most powerful things about this week too, is if someone is new to low carb or keto, or they've been doing it and it's kind of like having trouble sticking to it, or they want kind of a reset, it's such a great way to do it because you can be at this event and you will be surrounded by other people who are also eating this way. And that will be inspiring, maybe to get ideas or maybe just to see how other people construct their plates or do things. And it's a really, really awesome lunch. So we do that every day. It's kind of the routine. And then the afternoon, you have workshops, and the speakers from the morning will present their workshops on the afternoon so that you can dive deeper into whichever topic that presenter was talking about. So often these are much deeper sessions, and it's a lot of Q&A and a lot of practical tips and applications and things that you can apply to your life. So I was speaking on the very first day, and our very first speaker was Dr. Evelyne Bourdua-Roy, and she spoke about food addiction, and I believe she had one of the most powerful talks at the event. She talked all about the connection with dopamine and food addiction, and how basically these dopamine pathways in our brain can kind of hijack us and hijack our physiology, so we become really, really susceptible to foods that are addictive. And I love this topic. As you guys probably know, I love talking about food addiction, being as that's the background I come from. And I learned a lot about food addiction in the past several months, and I would love to have Dr. Evelyne Bourdua-Roy on the show on Fast Keto. So I will ask her if she'd like to come on and do an episode so we can talk all about food addiction more in detail and more about her experience in working with her patients. As a doctor, I was pretty impressed because she operates, I believe, in Quebec in Canada, and she has had 4 complaints filed against her because she's doing low carb with her medicine, and she's sort of giving out low carb nutrition advice to her patients. And a lot of doctors who do that, they get in trouble. And she's had 4 complaints, and yet she persists. And I really admire that about her. So it was really, really neat to have her at the show. The second talk of the day was with Ximena De La Serna. She is known on Instagram as the Functional Force. She's a dear friend of mine, and she did a wonderful presentation called Beyond Low Carb, Fine-Tune Your Functional Health. And she had these 5 different aspects of health. I posted a lot of content from her workshop because she had so many great points. My favorite takeaways were that she talked about how women really need more protein because women tend to need more taurine. We have lower iron levels, and not to fear eating red meat. And she talked a lot about some of the highest quality proteins that you can get. I can share more of those photos and images of her slides and things on my Instagram feed, but I shared a lot of them from her presentation during it. And she really had some great information about, prioritizing not only red meat, but also high quality proteins and bluefish, which is a term I had never heard before, which just means the fattier fish. So I guess I knew of whitefish. I never really heard of bluefish being a term for the fattier cuts of meat. And she talked about emphasizing organs and organ meats, which is something that I feel very strongly about. So I loved seeing that. She also talked a lot about two other things. One was sleep and making sure that you really prioritize getting optimal sleep. And she talked about making sure you block blue light from your screens if you're working, past the sort of end of the day, and try to align yourself with circadian rhythms as much as possible, and just really underscored the importance of getting good sleep. And she said, if I don't get a good night's sleep, I don't do any important things that day. I don't make any big important decisions that day, because I know that those are always days where I make mistakes. And she talked a little bit about the, self-care and the importance of really resting and making sure that you block all the light in your bedroom, and make sure that you use these filters on your screens and things. And it was a good reminder. But she also talked a lot about fertility, and Ximena is a fertility specialist. She is amazing at it. So it's really cool to hear her talk about some of the things that help with women's fertility and PCOS, and it's kind of the background that she comes from. So she gave a really, really fantastic talk. Next, we had Dr. N. Childers, and she did one of my favorite talks, which is Stone Age Body, Space Age Diet. And she really talked about two main things. One was really highlighting how humans are scavengers. The acidity in our stomach is so high. I mean, the pH of our stomach is about 1.5 to 2, which you can easily Google and see. And that's because humans are scavengers. We're omnivores. We're made to eat just about anything. And she showed a lot of evidence, anthropological evidence and historical evidence as to why humans are meat eaters, and how we really have these Stone Age bodies, and yet we're eating these weird, food creations that our bodies don't recognize. And she really does such a fantastic presentation on why we really need to be eating a diet that's more appropriate for us. She showed, cave paintings showing humans who had dogs that would hunt animals and meat for them, and talked a lot about hunting and how we have always eaten animals. And, it's historically factual that we are meat eaters. And she talked also, the other kind of aspect to her talk that she talks about a lot is she talks about diabetes and blood sugar and insulin, and she wears a Dexcom. She puts a lot of her patients on Dexcom monitors, and so she is able to track a lot of data, and she shows things like how your blood sugar will spike. She did a test where her blood sugar spiked more and her insulin spiked more after having a bowl of cereals than 2 Snicker bars. These were 2 smaller size Snicker bars, but basically made up kind of one whole Snicker bar. And the cereal caused more of a rise, and it was just cereal with milk. And so, starting your day off this way is really a bad way of setting yourself up for hunger during the day, because as she mentioned, and this is an idea that I love having reinforced and understanding better, is that hunger really happens when your blood sugar is falling. So the higher blood sugar goes, the higher and more it's going to have to fall. And it's in that falling that our blood sugar goes down, and it's that gives our bodies kind of an uncomfortable feeling. Dr. Ted Naiman also mentioned this on the podcast episode that I did with him, where he said, it's that falling blood sugar that makes us feel uncomfortable and makes us want to eat. And that's when we experience hunger. So if you're really prioritizing protein and fat, those foods don't spike your blood sugar, and they don't really raise it. So you don't have these spikes and falls all the time that cause this perpetual cycle of hunger and spiking your blood sugar and insulin, as opposed to just keeping it very, very stable. And I know for myself, I found that my mood has really gone with my blood glucose. So the more stable my blood sugar is, just from eating foods that don't really ever stimulate these insulin spikes, and also being fat fueled and being in ketosis, it keeps my blood sugar like a straight line practically, and so is my mood. It's just super even Steven, and it used to be up and down and all over the place for most of my life. I was just an emotional mess. So to have my mood be so stable and calm all the time is such a huge blessing. It's an unexpected blessing that I didn't know was going to come with this lifestyle, but I love really learning and reinforcing that. And Maria Emmerich that I spent a lot of time with this week with her and Craig, and she also mentioned that's really when hunger happens. She mentioned that in her presentation too is when blood sugar is falling. So that's really a huge motivating factor for not wanting to eat foods that really spike your blood sugar, because who wants to be hungry? I'd much rather be fat fueled and also just not have to be thinking about food all the time, so I can get on with my day and do other things with my day. So the last talk that day at noon was my talk on autophagy, and the podcast episode that I just released on Saturday was the recording that I did before my talk. I did it for you guys, and I was going through all of the presentation on the podcast, and it's Autophagy 101, and it is all about the biochemistry of autophagy, how exactly it works, and busting a lot of myths about autophagy that I think get repeated a lot and are not factual. So if you are interested in autophagy or autophagy, you can go and listen to that episode. And I think it's episode 121. So on the rest of that day, we had workshops in the afternoon, and that's a time when many of us went to do other activities like yoga, going for a walk. You can do the workshops, you can do time at the spa, you can do whatever it is that you feel like doing. Go for a swim, go for a sauna, a cold plunge. There's really so many options, and it's such an easygoing schedule. So then we usually do that. I went and did some studying, and then we would have dinner at 7 p.m. every night, which is also the same dining area, and it's a buffet. It's the same low-carb buffet, and it's got a great salad bar. I shared a lot of videos of it. There's amazing cheeses, tons of healthy fresh greens, boiled eggs, all kinds of dressings and sauces, and low-starch veggies, and then there's a bar with hot food that has a lot of delicious, healthy proteins as well. So it's a really great dinner and so much fun connecting and spending time with everybody who was there. I really, really enjoyed the evenings and our evening dinners too. So day 2 of the show was featuring Jan Viadak, and he is from Czech, and he was presenting about type 2 diabetes and a lot of research that has actually been done in Czech. Dr. Ian Lake, such a fantastic person. I was so thrilled to get to meet him in person. I would love to have him on the podcast as well. And he did a talk about long distance running and keto with type 1 diabetes and presented some information on that. Then we had Dorian Greenow. He's the founder of Keto Mojo, and he did a presentation all about testing for ketones and blood sugar and how you do it, when you should do it. I shared a bunch of stuff about that when he was doing the talk. I think I may have live streamed his talk as well. But he talked about a few different measurements that you can take, and I know that they are currently building a brand new website that's going to be out at some point, probably next year, and we'll have a lot of resources for the community. So it was an interesting talk that Dorian gave about the different kinds of measurements of ketones and also just bioindividuality. So next up, Hanna did a talk called The Importance of Mindset in Diabetes Management and Lifestyle Changes. And I love this talk of Hanna's. She talks all about the difference between being in a fixed mindset versus being in a growth mindset. When you're in a fixed mindset, you are really sensitive to criticism. You're sort of feeling threatened by other people. You're not open to things. You're really not at your best. When you're in a growth mindset, you welcome and look for critiques and criticism from people. You feel support and encouragement when you see other people succeed, and you're learning and growing a lot. And I just love that dichotomy. And if you're interested in learning more about that, there's actually a great book about it, and I can share that in the show notes. But if you just also Google search fixed mindset versus growth mindset, you'll see a lot of infographics and images that come up that summarize this. And I really love so many of the things that she shared. All right, guys. Now, I know you're like me. You love to budget and save money, but also feed your families the most high quality, delicious tasting food that is super nutrient dense. Now, that's why I love ButcherBox. They make all of this super affordable by taking out the middleman, grocery stores, and being able to purchase directly from a collective of ranches. This way, we support buying high quality grass-fed and finished beef, free-range organic chicken that's free of antibiotics, heritage breed pork, wild-caught Alaskan sockeye salmon, all of this so affordably by being able to buy directly from the ranchers and fishermen. It's almost that time of year again. What time of the year? Turkey time. I love turkey time. New members signing up to ButcherBox right now will receive a free whole turkey in their first box starting on October 15th. So if you aren't signed up yet, you can sign up for a ButcherBox subscription using my code, and you will receive as a new member a free whole turkey in your first box to celebrate Thanksgiving with. The holidays are coming up. It's turkey time. I love turkey and I love the holidays. So go and sign up and don't delay, because this is a fantastic offer, especially for you guys with you in mind and the holidays. That's butcherbox.com/fastketo. Try them out. I absolutely love what they do and how affordable they make it to have grass-fed, grass-finished beef and such high-quality foods shipped directly to your door, saving time and money from having to go to the grocery store, and just being able to provide really high-quality, nutrient-dense food for our families. So that's butcherbox.com/fastketo. Let me know if you try them out. They provide absolutely delicious meat. I love receiving my box every month, and I know that you will too. Another really big takeaway for me from her is she talked about Roger Federer, who is, most of you know who Roger Federer is, but he's such an incredible champion tennis player, maybe one of the best tennis players that has ever lived in human history. And she said, Roger Federer, he's amazing, but he doesn't just say, well, I'm so amazing, I don't need a coach. I don't need someone to help me because I'm so amazing. No, he knows that in order to fully harness his abilities, his performance, his success, he needs to deliver, and that means having a coach. So never see having a coach or someone in your life helping you as some kind of flaw or weakness in you. It just means that you're awesome, you have incredible potential, and you want to maximize that with someone who can help bring that out in you and make sure that you perform at your very best. And maybe performing at your best at the level that Roger Federer does is because he has a coach, So how cool is that? It really reframed that in my mind. I've used personal coaches over the years in different ways. I've had some really amazing coaches, one in particular that taught me a lot about zone performance and getting in the zone. And he is amazing. Jim Fannin. If you want to ever listen to his podcast, it is one of the best out there. Jim Fannin does incredible podcasts on zone performance. And if you're interested in performing in the zone in whatever career you might work in or whatever sport you might be in, if you're an athlete listening to this and you're interested in, keto for performance and all that, you have to check out Jim Fannin. He has several books out. His podcast is really, really motivational. I have to give a huge shout out to him because he was the best coach I ever had. But he's amazing. So I really loved that takeaway. And of course, at the end, Hannah ended with everything is figure outable. Very quotable comment by a very quotable lady. So the coach of coaches, I think her name is Maria Forleo. I may not be pronouncing that properly. So we had our regular lunch, our regular afternoon and evening dinner, which was wonderful. They also did a screening of Fat, the new movie by Vinnie Tortorich. I'm sure most of you have seen it. If you haven't, you must watch it. It is amazing. So Friday, we had a day of more personal stories. We had a speaker named Emmerich who talked about how he won The Biggest Loser in Sweden, I believe, or Finland. And he did it by doing low carb, high fat. And he's a wonderful man. He's a journalist, and really enjoyed connecting with him and speaking to him. And he really has transformed his health and his life. And it's really, really cool that he did it with low carb, high fat. And he won this TV show by doing it with low carb, high fat. And I think that he's going to have a lot of success in sustaining that because of the way that he did it, as opposed to how we've all heard about the Biggest Loser contestants who just gain everything back after, because they did it in a really unsustainable way. And low carb, one of the best benefits of it is really just that it is all about being able to do this in a very, very sustainable way. Ultimately, it really doesn't matter if you lose weight. If you just put it all back on again, it's actually worse for you, because you end up usually losing some fat and muscle and putting just fat back on. So, sustainability and being able to maintain after you've lost is really, really key. And that's why low carb, high fat, in my opinion, is so great for sustainability. It's a great way to lose weight and to maintain afterwards as well, because it's a lifestyle that you can just do all the time. It's not a temporary diet that you're just on and then you're going to go off it because you're so deprived and unsatisfied. Low carb, high fat is a lifestyle. It's something that you love, and you can do it and keep it up for as long as you want to, because it is amazing. And most people try it and then they don't want to go back, or you're like me, you try low carb and you end up at keto and keto carnivore and carnivore, because it just keeps leveling you up. So I think it's pretty cool that he did that with low carb, high fat. So next we had Eve Mayer. She is one of the most fabulous women I've ever met in my life. She has a personality that is so dynamic, and she's such a beautiful person. I loved her talk, which was all about techniques for a happy life with low carb eating and intermittent fasting. And she is writing a book with Dr. Jason Fung and Megan Ramos about fasting. And she has a great podcast called Life in the Fasting Lane. I absolutely am going to have her on Fast Keto because she is so wonderful and hilarious. She's just an amazing, inspiring person, and she's been loving getting into fasting and learning all about that. The next speaker was Jaideep Bhutta, and he talked about vegetarian, low carb, high fat and his personal weight loss story. And then we had Maria Emmerich. She did her talk on oxidative priority, which is one that I live streamed. It's all about how our bodies process macronutrients in order to enable us to burn body fat efficiently. So she really focused in on body fat. And you may have seen her talk at KetoCon before and do this presentation, but a lot of the presentation is based on materials they have in their book, Keto, period. And it's such a great book. It is one of the best books on keto ever written, and it has so many incredible resources in it. So on Saturday, we had some of our last speakers. We had Dr. James Goolnik. I did an Instagram live and IGTV video with him on should you brush your teeth if you don't eat sugar? And he had a really interesting answer, which basically was you can brush your teeth with water, but you don't really need the toothpaste, because the toothpaste is to take off the acid that is produced by bacteria on your teeth that eat the sugar that you eat. So if you don't eat sugar, then these bacteria are not producing these acids that corrode your teeth. So if you brush with water, you brush your teeth with a toothpaste that doesn't have any sweeteners in it. That's the best thing you can do if you don't eat sugar. It's really, really cool. We did a fun video on it, and I also shared his talk. But if you want to see the interview, it's on my Instagram TV. One of my favorite talks of the week was with Craig Emmerich. He did a case for carnivore, when carnivore is the best course of action, and he laid out so much evidence about, again, how humans are designed to eat meat because we are scavengers based on the acidity level in our stomach, on the size of our digestive tract, and how our bodies are designed is really all about eating and consuming animals. And he lays it all out in a very strategic way. He talked all about the anti-nutrients in plants to start off with. He talked about one of the coolest slides, which was about how they did this study where intakes of zinc and absorption of zinc after eating oysters was almost completely suppressed when the oysters were consumed with corn tortillas. They were quite a bit reduced when consumed with beans, but when they were eaten with corn tortillas, none of the zinc was actually absorbed by the body. So sometimes carbohydrates, not only are they not essential, but they can also impair us from absorbing nutrients that we're eating from real food. And it's a really, really interesting slide. He had a lot of great, really compelling evidence about humans as what we are as beings and how we thrive in terms of eating meat. And I really love that talk that he gave. So we then had Darrell Edwards. He did a fantastic talk about active play and the benefits of play for kids and adults, and basically how if you think of moving as a workout, as always working out, you're always going to dread it. But if you think of it as play, it can be something that you really look forward to. And he talked about it as a play out, and he talked about all the different kind of aspects to what makes play, what makes movement fun. You're doing it just for the sake of it without a specific goal in mind, and it's maybe with other people or by yourself. It engages your imagination, and we did some fun examples of some of these playouts towards the end of his talk, and it was actually really fun to do. So then we had Mark Hancock, and he is someone very inspiring. He actually heard Michael Mosley on the radio talking about how you can reverse type 2 diabetes, and he had type 2 diabetes, and he managed to reverse his completely by doing low carb. And it's really cool to see how fired up he is just about sharing this with the world. He is so excited that he was able to transform his own health around so much, and he just wants to go out and spread that to other people and share that good news with other people who may not be aware of it. So he's really on a mission to speak up about this and speak out about it and how he did it exactly. And it's really inspiring. I really enjoyed getting to meet Mark and see the fire in him that he's so excited to share with other people and help other people find their way to low carb, especially people who really need it. So it was just such a power-packed week. As you can tell, so many fantastic speakers and so many incredible insights that stuck with me during the week, and I'm sure will continue to linger in my mind over the next weeks and provide other insights for me in terms of other connections. And I really am so thrilled and excited by this event, by all the people who were there, by all the brilliant minds who were there, all the incredible people who've transformed their lives and are so inspiring, and also people who are just starting out. I think it's really inspiring to see people who are brave and want to make change and want to change their lives. And it's not easy to get off of hyper addictive foods that exist in our modern food environment. And these foods are extremely addictive. They're engineered to be addictive, and it's very difficult for people to get off of these foods and to eat real food. It can take years. I mean, I've been doing this now for 5 years, and we had our last gala dinner last night, and I was sitting in and chatting with Marie, and I hadn't told her before about how I was vegetarian for so long, and really keto was what made me, start fully eating meat again. And gradually over the years, my health just has gotten better and better and better and better and better from when I was vegetarian, and for a part of that, vegan and even raw fruitarian at some parts. But I also told her and Craig that I never really ate a lot of beef in my whole life. And so I'm kind of obsessed with eating brisket and beef because, when I was growing up, we were so afraid of eating red meat in our house that we really only had it like maybe once a year. And, my mom would cut the piece of fat off of it, and I really loved eating that part. And if I could have any of it, it was just like so minuscule. But we also grew up I also grew up in Asia, and in China, we ate a lot of mostly chicken and pork duck sometimes, but just not a lot of beef. It was just really not something we ate much at all. Like I said, maybe once a year. So, to go from that to then vegetarian for most of my adult life, and then I ended up in my early 30s and going onto keto, it still took me a while to really start to get into eating red meat. It still freaked me out. I had a hard time with it at first and had a hard time even like cooking it and preparing it. And I was so brainwashed to being plant-based and vegetarian, and it was very challenging. And now all I ever want is red meat because it's so full of iron, it's so satisfying, it's so nutrient dense, so nutrient rich. And so you probably see me posting quite a lot of brisket and sort of beef roasts and lots of slow cooked beef. And for me, it's so exotic to have these kinds of things. I never had them. I never even had a lot of burgers growing up. I really was such a child of this, no fat, zero fat era, and that red meat would kill you. So I'm kind of making up for it all right now. And it's kind of funny to reflect on my own journey to where I've been, because I go to this low carb event every year. And every year I've been in such a different place. And this year I'm in the best place that I've ever been, physically, emotionally, mentally. I mean, my presentation was exactly what I wanted to deliver, and I've really become a better and better speaker from, doing so much speaking in the last few years. And I just feel really, really emotionally stable and happy. Mentally, I feel really sharp and clear. Physically, I feel fantastic in my body. It's never been leaner or, just felt better. Energy wise, everything. I have been a fat burner for several years, but really been tweaking things, continuing to tweak things, and continuing to do biohacks and all kinds of things. And all these different experiments, they really do pay off. It really pays off to experiment with different things, try them out. Don't just copy what someone else is doing, copy what everyone is doing. Try everything until you zero in and find what works for you. But the best thing to do really is to find someone out there. If you want to follow someone who is getting great results, find someone who has achieved the results that you want to achieve. I know when I started out, I listened to a lot of people who were in the low carb space that didn't necessarily have the results that I wanted. Some of them did, some of them didn't, but they were just known for knowing a lot about keto and low carb. And so I got a lot of misinformation. And I'm not saying that is necessarily that those people were putting out bad facts, that they were putting out things that didn't work for me. So from trying out everything, making every mistake I could possibly make, I did find my way to what works best for me. And to me, that is mostly a zero carb approach. And I recently went off of dark chocolate and coffee for the last few weeks to try it out. I don't know if I'm cutting them out forever, but I wanted to try and just do more of a pure carnivore stint for a while and just do meat only and see how that goes. And I've been doing it for about 3 weeks and really enjoying it so far, taking notes, noticing how I'm feeling. I'm not someone who ever just commits to something 100% overnight and says I'm never going to do or eat anything else. I'm keto carnivore. I like to be open to all kinds of different foods for nourishment, but right now I'm really enjoying focusing on nutrient dense foods. I really find it really, really simple. I love eating a lot of organ meats. Like I said, a lot of beef and foods that just satiate me so that I can get on with my life and I can do other things, because I spent so much of my life living to eat, being addicted to food, being so miserable, overweight, unhealthy, depressed in my body. And now I have everything that I've ever wanted to experience in my body. And I just want to go live my life. And I don't want to spend it obsessing about what I'm going to have for lunch or dinner, or be thinking about my lunch while I'm having breakfast. It's a ridiculous way to live. There's so much more to life than that. And if that's where you are at presently, I totally get it. I was there for most of my life. Let me tell you, there's hope. Things can be so different. When I used to hear people say, you can just eat to live, not live to eat. I thought, man, like, I wish that could be me someday. I would love to be able to do that. That's probably never going to happen for me. And yet here I am, and it fully is my existence. I eat to live. I never have enjoyed my meals more than I do now, which is surprising to say because they don't have a ton of variety. But I love every single meal. I look forward to every single meal. I enjoy it fully. And then I get on with my life and I live my happy life. So I wanted to share that with all of you. I'll share a little bit more about what I keep doing with the coffee. I love coffee, so I'm not saying I'm giving it up 100%, but I'm trying this out to see. Maybe try a month, maybe 2 months. My sleep was actually not really great after I was traveling for some speaking events for about 5 weeks, and this was a way for me to help my adrenal cortex kind of stabilize and not be pumping out adrenaline all the time and just doing a break of caffeine fully. That's also the other reason for the chocolate is, 100% dark chocolate has a lot of caffeine in it. It also has a lot of oxalates in it. So I decided if I'm just going to go off of coffee, I may as well go off the chocolate at the same time. And actually quitting them both at the same time was easier somehow than keeping both in. I've tried to quit dark chocolate before, and I'll make it like a week, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks at the most. And now it's been 3 weeks and it's going really, really well and really easily. Like I walked into a whole store today to get some things for us after the conference. And I normally always check out the chocolate section, whichever new city I'm in. And I didn't even look, and I was walking out of the store and I was like, wow, that was powerful. That was the first time I didn't even look for that section, so if you're a food addict, you know what I'm talking about. And, to walk into a store and walk out and then realize like it didn't even occur to you, to go over there even just to see what they had. I mean, it's pretty cool. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed some of those takeaways. I hope some of them maybe triggered some different thoughts or ideas or stimulation or insights for you, which is why I love sharing the takeaways, and it helps me too to get to review them and, go over and relive this fantastic week because it was truly amazing. It was so many incredible people coming together. I really have to give a heartfelt thank you to Hanna and Bitte for organizing such a phenomenal event. One of the best weeks of my life. It always is. Every time I go, it's so powerful because everyone that they attract to their shows is incredible. So it just feels like the whole place is floating on ketones and and love. That's for sure. So until the next episode, I wish you guys a wonderful fat-filled week. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you liked any takeaways or anything resonated with you, share it with me over on Instagram because I love hearing from you guys what you liked about the podcast. And let me know if you have any guests you'd like to have me on next on the show. I will be bringing on some of the speakers, as I mentioned, who were at the show this week that we can do some deep dives on food addiction and even dentistry and brushing your teeth and tons of great topics that I mentioned a little bit about today. So have a fat-fueled rest of your week and sending you guys lots of love. Thanks for listening.
A few disclaimers. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice, as I am not a qualified healthcare provider. The information presented on this podcast is for educational purposes only. Ketogenic Girl is not qualified to provide medical advice. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to this podcast. Prior to beginning a ketogenic diet, you should undergo a full health screening with your physician to confirm that a keto diet is suitable for you and to rule out any conditions or contraindications that may pose risks or that are incompatible with the ketogenic diet. A keto diet may or may not be appropriate for you if you have any kind of health condition, whether known to you or unknown, so you must consult your physician to find this out. Anyone under the age of 18 should consult with their physician and their parents or legal guardian.